Hey you folks, Quill18 here, and welcome to a discussion about Sims 4 and some of the features that were present in Sim 3 but will not exist in Sims 4. So, let's disclaimer this. The internet is really good at being a sort of a hate machine or a whine machine. People like to complain and get on the complaint train. Sometimes it's justified, sometimes it's not. Is it in the case of Sims 4? Well, some things may be, some things may not be. Is EA a horribly evil company? Well, maybe. Is that what's informing their choices here? I don't think so. And I'm talking about from the point of view, I'm someone who is a programmer who's worked on large projects and who has also done some game programming. And I kind of feel like the reasons we don't have A, create a style, B, toddler life stage, and C, swimming pools in the vanilla Sims 4 is not part of a great evil master plan on the side of EA. I think that there's two reasons that you can split these in two. There's the creative style reason, and then there's the swimming pool and toddler reason. And I'm gonna start by tackling the creative style issue, because I honestly feel that this is the most legitimate thing that they didn't include. Like, I totally understand why they did it, and it's also the one that might be more problematic, because you can't. This is not something they're saving for DLC. You can't do that. I legitimately believe that they have changed their sort of technology that runs if you don't know how it works, creative style is the ability to recolor objects and clothing in the Sims world. This was a feature that was introduced in Sims 3, and I believe that it's one of the reasons that Sims 3 tends to perform so badly on a lot of computers. Again, as someone who's done 3D game programming, there's stuff, I'll say stuff, involved in sort of texturing and materials that basically with the creative style thing, you were losing out on a lot of optimization potential. Will there still be user-created content and stuff like that coming from externally? Oh yeah, sure, maybe, but you can't sort of you can't make your own patterns from scratch from within the Sims anymore. And I really do believe that that is a genuine part of the optimization, because that is the number one complaint of like every Sims game to date, not just Sims 3, but every Sims game. The complaint has always been it performs terribly even on computers that should be able to crush this, 5-year-old game or whatever. Like mine, I have a really good computer and it still feels like it takes forever to load the game and to do certain things, and so they've elected to do a few things like the slightly smaller sub-block neighborhoods instead of like one giant town, because it was always brutal when you'd like load from one giant town to like one giant Egypt or one giant university and then back. Well, here Sim people are like, oh, there's going to be more load times. I think it actually will cut down the fact that they're slightly smaller. It's sort of the Mass Effect problem. In Mass Effect 1, it is infamous for these really long elevator rides. And that was because they were trying to load new sections of the world without resorting to a loading screen. They didn't want a loading screen. But because they had these elevator rides, and because they did that, it actually magnified the loading times dramatically. Whereas in Mass Effect 2 and 3, you lose these long elevator rides, and there's now a loading screen, but the loading screens are short. Really short compared to the elevator rides. And so I think there's going to be a little bit of that. So I think the creative style, while it's going to be the thing that sort of is going to hurt more people, like I didn't use it much. I wonder, like EA is not a stupid company. They're a big company. They probably do a lot of market research. And I know that they do give you the option. There's a checkbox you can put in the options in Sims 3, whether you allow them to sort of track your gameplay or not. And if there's a lot of people who play Sims 3 like I do, EA was probably seeing that, hey, the creative style doesn't get used very much. And you know what? People don't really do swimming pools very often, and they never really make toddlers. We still need babies in the game, so I guess we'll still have babies. So yeah. So I think there's a little bit of that. And I apologize on behalf of what is probably the majority of people who don't really spend a lot of time in creative style. I apologize if you're one of these creative type that really puts a lot of work in, but it's just not something that I personally used. So I think there may have been a little bit of that. It's like, it's a feature that we might be able to sort of cut and gain tons and tons of extra performance. We'll see if that works out. Of course, we're all playing this in a vacuum. We don't know what's in there. And we're focusing on the things that were present before and will not be present in this game, but we don't really know what all the new stuff is yet. And that's the thing. People treat this like they're treating this as if it's a patch that is coming out to the game that is ripping out these features. No. Sims 4 is legitimately, it's, you know, a new game with a new code base and all this, and it's just that they didn't reproduce these features that have previously existed. So I think the creative style really comes from that aspect, and I don't think that it's a sign of necessarily incompetence, and I truly don't believe that that's a money grab, because I really doubt that there's any way for them to reintroduce this feature back into a DLC, and if it does, that means they really did have it in there from day one and they just denied it, in which case you'll hear a completely different rant from me at that time. But for now, I'm assuming that it is legitimately part of the new technology in terms of animation and art and optimization, all that. Okay, so that's area 1. Area 2 is the lack of the swimming pool and toddlers. What's going on there? Well, I want to preface this by pointing out to the fact that Sims 4 was supposed to be out in early 2014. It is now due to come out in September of 2014. That's a 6 to 9 month window, depending on exactly when their initial shipping expectation was. That is quite the delay. That is a hugely significant delay, and I suspect it has a lot to do with their I don't know, flaunted or vaunted, whatever. The new AI and the new animation system they keep talking about. I bet you it was more complicated to implement than they expected, and probably had to go through a lot of QA. There's a lot of interactions that goes on in The Sims, and all these things have to be tested over and over and over and over again. So you've got a schedule slippage like this. Well, what do you look at next? Yeah, maybe if people don't actually play with a whole lot of kids and they don't necessarily usually put in so many pools, then by doing something like, if you cut out swimming pools, all of a sudden, I don't think it's the swimming pool tool itself that's the problem. I don't think it's the water rendering that's actually the problem. I think the problem is that they have to go and make all these swimming animations for all these people. And it's not even necessarily the making of the animations that is hard. It's all the testing. You've got to make sure that every body type, every gender, every life stage, every piece of clothing, and all the interactions that you can do in the pool all work with every combination. Like, okay, we're going to try fat woman, little boy. Okay, now we're going to try this and this and this. So by cutting out swimming pools, and then also by cutting out a whole life stage, that massively, massively cuts back on the amount of testing and development you have to put in. And that's the thing. I am not going to accuse EA of being evil with leaving out the swimming pools and toddlers. I might just accuse them of being kind of incompetent. And as someone who's worked in large software projects, I think that's way more likely. There were plans. Things fell through, projects slip, and then they went down there. And that's why I don't like to join in the rant party. I mean, I don't like, you know, to the sense that, oh, there's this feature that used to exist and now it doesn't. No, that doesn't make me happy. But I'm not going to, you know, get the torch and pitchfork out here when it's, you know, I'm actually assuming the people at AAA are also not happy about this. I mean, people are like, oh, it's this clever plan to show DLC. And listen, here's the thing with The Sims. The expansions will sell. They don't really have to be tricky and conniving. They will sell the expansion. They sell those crappy stuff packs. Like I've bought every expansion pack for every version of The Sims that has ever come out. It was funny. There was a couple of comments when I did my Create a Sim video. People were like, "Oh, how much did EA have to pay you for this?" A, EA doesn't even know I'm alive. They have no clue about me. And B, I legitimately love The Sims. Both like as a programmer, these people that walk around, the AI, the everything. I like it. Plus, I enjoy playing it from a role-playing point of view. I really think it's quite a fun game. And so, you know, I know people buy these expansions. And then there's the stuff packs, which they don't add new gameplay features. They just add some extra like furniture and clothing. And so those are crap, and I've never bought those. And they're, in my opinion, over costed. But, you know, some people want some extra stuff and they don't necessarily know how to run, you know, how to download custom content. And there's tons of custom content, but it can be a real pain in the ass to download and organize and make sure that it all works. It's very much like modding Skyrim. You know, it's a big pain in the butt. So some people do it, some people won't. So they'll sell, and there's no way they come out with just an expansion pack / DLC. And one day we'll have to have a discussion about, you know, people think expansion is a good thing, but DLC is a dirty word. But of course, expansion packs are basically just DLC. They're just downloadable content now, right? We don't go out and physically buy an expansion pack. We download the expansion pack. So the line is blurring between the two, and what's good and what's bad, that'll be a discussion for another day. But people will buy it. And if they came out with an expansion that was literally just this is the swimming pool expansion, people would flip their shit. And EA, there's no way they're going to be willing to go through that crap. And again, if they do, then I will make a whole other video with a whole other set of complaints at that point. But for now, I'm sort of giving them the benefit of the doubt that, there'll probably be some sort of, again, an outdoor life expansion that adds, might reintroduce swimming pools and have more deck chairs and barbecues, and you can play volleyball and all these things. There'll be a themed expansion that will include that stuff. There'll be a new version of this sort of like the Generations pack that reintroduces maybe the toddler stage, plus, a bunch of like extra maternity interactions and school and play dates and the ability to run a daycare, or some damn thing like that. There'll be a themed expansion that may introduce these features back in there at that point. Sims 3 had Generations where they added teenagers. That's right, teenagers. If I'm recalling correctly, teenagers were introduced in the Generations thing because that was a life stage that didn't exist prior to that. And that happens a lot. Then they add the expansion that gives you the sort of young adult phase that lets you go to university. I think that's how it was in Sims 2, maybe 3. I don't know. They all sort of blend in together at this point. But that's just sort of par for the course. So that's the thing. So I never like to join in the internet hate machine. The internet's good enough at doing that as is. It doesn't need an extra voice, and I'd rather just be happy about things. I like positivity. If something is upsetting me, I tend to just ignore it. That's why I don't tend to do bad reviews of games. Right? I don't play a game that is bad and then bash it on this channel because I don't enjoy that. It doesn't make me feel good. There are plenty of channels that do it, and they do it exceptionally well, and often I enjoy watching them. I love to watch TB or a Yahtzee tear apart a game, for example. Those guys do it. It's hilarious the way they do it, and it's good. It's good that this message gets out, but it's not a message I want to do. I try to be happy and enthusiastic about life, and that affects my game coverage as well. So I might acknowledge a problem, but then be like, but I still like to play this game. Same thing with SimCity. There's the new SimCity. There's tons of things that are wrong with it, but it's still kind of fun to play. So I'd rather just, if I'm going to make a video, I'm going to focus on the bits that are fun, and then sort of offhandedly comment that, oh, it's it's too bad the cities are so small. Ho, 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 ho. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But other than that, I try not to whine or complain too much. And it's not to say that that sort of critique is wrong or bad. Again, it is very important, and the message being out there is good. But that's what it is. So I'm not paid off by EA. I'm not like that. I am probably a bit more of a Sims fanboy than maybe is healthy. But fuck it, I love the game. See you next time, folks. Bye bye. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. Also, leave a comment. Did you know I read every single comment someone leaves on my video? That's insane. Why would I do that? I don't know, but I'll read yours.